We've got a big audience, George, and again, thank you for joining us. We're very grateful. You're a big partner of the NSBC, and it's because of people like you and organizations like you, we can help so many SMEs around the country. So first of all, thank you for your participation as one of our key partners, and thank you for taking your time out this morning to share some insights with me. George, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mike, and good morning to everybody who has joined us this morning. It's quite exciting to see the number of people who are coming on from all around the country. It's really exciting, and thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely, and for everyone out there, George Mushaike he's a senior executive at, of course, W&RSETA, senior regional manager, and of course, he's the man with all the insights this morning. And I know from myself personally, and from all the surveys that we've done over the past few years, skills development is always at the top of the agenda. And of course, I think there's, in many cases amongst the SME sector, George, there's limited knowledge and limited understanding. And I think that's to me is an invaluable part of this morning, is to, of course, give SMEs that insight into skills development. But George, I've got a couple of questions here this morning. And I just wondered if you can do me a favor, an overview of the W&RSETA and wholesale and retail sector with the focus on small businesses.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mike. So the W&RSETA is one of the 21 SETAs in the country. We were all established through the Skills Development Act, which is an act that was put out in 1999. So the 21 SETAs that you have represent different sectors of the economy. So you would find that ourselves, we deal with the wholesale and retail sector. You will find a sector in the manufacturing industry, services, and so on and so on. So you have a total of 21 SETAs. So we report to the Department of Higher Education and Training. So all the SETAs at the beginning of each financial year, we basically sign a service level agreement with the Minister of Higher Education and Training. And that service level agreement is basically saying to the SETAs, this is what we are going to do in a financial year. So, and then we then set what we call these become targets for the SETA in terms of what we must deliver. So we basically sign a contract with the Department of Higher Education and Training. And part of that contract will then say to the SETA, you are going to be assisting, you are going to be delivering and assisting small businesses in various ways. So part of the act is really that you have got companies, who are paying levies and so on. And then you have got small businesses who are not paying levies to the SETA. We'll talk about the levy grant system a bit later on. But part of that is not necessarily that the SETA can only assist companies that are levy paying. So we have a mandate as a SETA or as all SETAs to actually assist small businesses to ensure that there is development. Because, it doesn't really mean that if someone is running a small business, they must stay that way. So we have a mandate to see these small businesses grow and really assist in whatever way. We have got various programs that we run. And I'm sure we will also have a discussion around that, Mike, in terms of what kind of programs are we running and so on. So we are really established through the Act, and we have a mandate in delivering skills development. For us, it's specifically in the wholesale and retail sector. And obviously, we also assist the small businesses that are related to us. So we're talking about your traders that you see on the street. We're talking about your spaza shops. We talk about all the informal traders. We've got a lot of small businesses that are registered with us. So really, that becomes a big part of the work that we do, Mike.
Okay, and George, the W&RSETA skills development system, how SETAs operate, company participation, and key programs. Please expand on that for me, George.
Okay. So first of all, as I indicated, that the Skills Development Act actually outlines, there's a Skills Development Act, and then we've got a Skills Development Levies Act. So the Skills Development Levies Act, it actually gives us direction in terms of how we should operate, both the SETAs and the businesses that we've got in the country. So the first requirement is that as a business, if your salary bill is above 500,000, you are then required to pay what is called a Skills Development Levy, which is 1% of your salary bill that you pay to SARS as a business. And then what then happens is that SARS then pays that money over to us as a SETA, and that is the funds that then we use to do our various programs around skills development. So first of all, in order for companies to participate on our programs, in terms of the Act, companies are required to, if their salary bill is above 500,000, companies are required to pay the Skills Development Levy. And in order for them to then start participating on our projects, on our programs, the companies that are paying levies are required to submit what we call an Annexure 2 document. An Annexure 2 document is where companies would indicate the training that they need to do, that they want to do for the period that we are going into, and they also report on the training that they did the previous year. So it's basically to say that this is what we are planning to do as an organization, and this is what we have done. So they are basically giving us a plan in terms of their training, and they are also telling us what they've done in the previous year. And then when they submit that document, as a SETA will then approve that document. Once the document is approved, they will then receive what we call a mandatory grant, which is 20% of whatever levies they would have contributed for that period. So they will receive that money once we have approved the document. And if a company that is paying levies does not submit that document, then they are then going to miss out in terms of participation for the period in terms of funding for the period that they would have been wanting to train their people or to bring in unemployed people into their businesses. So all companies that are paying levies, it is a requirement, it's a mandatory requirement that they must submit their workplace skills plans, their annual training reports, and so on, so that they are then able to participate on our programs. If they don't do that, and these documents have to be submitted by the 30th of April every year. So as a SETA, we have a system that our companies can log onto. We give them access to the system. They go and log in, and they can submit the required information. So basically, that is the starting point particularly for our levy paying companies. Then we have another side where we look at the non-levy paying. So as I indicated earlier, about 90% actually of the companies that we have on our system are actually small businesses, and a lot of them are non-levy paying. So what we then do with those companies is that we create various projects where we would advertise such projects, and companies can apply, and then we do our allocations, at the beginning of each financial year. So which means at the beginning of April each year, 1st of April, we get into our new financial year. Companies can then apply for the projects that we advertise, and we allocate, and then they can go for training. So really, there are various ways that we look at how we can assist, because obviously, as the small companies, they are not required to submit the WSP because they don't meet the levy threshold in terms of their salary bills and so on. So they are not required to submit that. But it doesn't mean then that we don't run programs for them. And really, that's how then we manage in terms of delivering on the various skills programs. And of course, Mike, we go into partnerships with various organizations as well. You have got your NAFCOCs of this world, and all the small business organizations. We're also going to partnerships with them. But as you can understand, our specific aim as the Wholesale and Retail SETA is to particularly work with all the small businesses that are doing retail-related businesses. So I cannot then go and deal with a company that is into construction, because then our construction SETA colleagues will handle that. So ours is really to deal with specifically anybody who does any wholesale and retail related business. I hope I've addressed the question, Mike.
Absolutely, George. Thank you for that. And just to add further, just if you can give me some insight into my next point, George, SMME and development programs and support.
Yeah. Okay. So Mike, we have various programs that we do. Normally, I think the core of our programs are around learnerships, which varies from level 1. Currently, we have got up to level 5 on our learnerships. So that is the MKF level that I'm referring to, where we really run and any companies are allowed to apply for those programs. We have got learnerships. We have got learnerships are basically your full qualifications that runs over a period of 12 months. Okay. Programs are really your shorter programs, where, as an example, let's say Mike is a manager at a particular retailer, and Mike has got management skills, but Mike is maybe short on customer service. Mike is maybe short on merchandising. And then your skills program is really to address a specific area. So those are shorter because you can then take a couple of unit standards, put them together, and become the skills program to address that. We also have artisan programs that we deliver. Obviously, we do that through the funding as well. You will find that we also have the motor vehicle retailers in our midst. So as you know, if you go to a dealership that sells cars and you need to service your car, they will have mechanics and so on. So those are mainly your artisan programs. We have got a couple of our stakeholders who are into what you call it, where you buy your DIY stuff. And if you go into any one of those retailers like builders and builders warehouse and so on, if you are like me and I don't know anything about building anything, I want to walk in there and say to someone, I am trying to build a four-bedroom house. What do I need to buy? And a lot of those people that work in there, you find they're actually artisans, because they should be able to tell you that you're going to need this, you're going to need that, you're going to need that. So they really assist you to be able to know exactly what is going to cost you for what you want to do. So those are the kinds of programs. We've got plumbing, we've got electricians, we've got your meat processing, you've got your confectionery bakers. Those are qualifications that we also do in that way. But specifically focusing on what you try and do with small businesses. We have been running with programs where we particularly focus on informal businesses. And what we've been doing over the years is that we will go into various communities through our provincial offices. So we have got provincial offices in every province around the country. And through our provincial offices, the provincial teams will say, for example, if I am based in Limpopo, I will say, okay, we have not done anything in a particular area, let's say, for example, Guyane, and we want to go and see what kind of retailers are in that particular area and what we can do what we can do for them. So what we'll do is that we'll go into that particular area, and in a lot of cases, we work through our training providers. We will contract in our training providers. They will go out to those specific areas and recruit people from those areas. So it really depends on what is the situation, because you have to do an assessment where you look at what are the requirements, what are their needs, what kind of business are they in. But what you find in most cases is that we focus on we have got skills programs on small business development. We have got as part of those skills programs, you have got financial management, you have got customer service that gets included, and recently, through COVID as well, we are now also putting a bit of focus on IT skills, because as you would realize that there's a big requirement that in terms of our retailers, you can see, even if you go to any of our big retailers, we can talk about Pick and Pay, you can talk about checkouts and so on. Everybody has gone literally online. So we are also encouraging to say, what kind of skills can we also provide to our small businesses so that they can also have access to that sort of market. So there is a big focus on that as well as we run all these particular programs that we do. So really, Mike, there's quite a wide range. There's a wide range of programs that we do, particularly for small businesses. And one of the things that we really want to encourage our small businesses to do is to try and work with us, so that we can understand their needs in various areas. It becomes difficult if you don't know what their needs are, and you don't want also to go and impose on people to say, we can only offer you this or we can only offer you that. So what we normally do is that we also run what we call our sector skills planning sessions. And even now, we are still busy running those sessions where we are doing them provincially. And why we are doing that is that we would like to understand even deeper what are the requirements per province, because I cannot take something that is happening in Gauteng and think I can go and do the same thing in the Northwest Province, just an example. Or I can take something that is happening in the Western Cape. And so we really want to encourage our small businesses to be part of those sessions, so that as we're doing these sessions, they can now tell us themselves to say, you know what, if you come to us as in the Northern Cape, if you come to us in the Eastern Cape, these are our focus areas, these are the areas of development that we require. So we really want to encourage also our small businesses to be part of those sector skills planning sessions, so that we can then implement programs that are relevant as we deal with those particular provinces and so on. So really, Mike, those are the kind of programs that we implement, and we really want to encourage the small businesses to be part of the sessions that we do. Thanks.
Thank you for that, George. Bomkazi on the chat is asking, how do you register to get a grant for skills programs?
So remember, as a business, they register through SARS. So when you get registered through SARS, you will be allocated a skills development levy number. And obviously, a levy number is allocated based on the sector that you are operating in. Once you are registered with SARS, then your levy number would come through to us. Then we would know, obviously, who are those stakeholders that are in our system. Remember earlier I said that we've got about 90% of the small businesses of our companies that are registered. You'll find that mostly are small businesses. So we identify them from that database. But if then you are not registered with SARS, remember I also indicated earlier that we also deal with your informal businesses. Your informal businesses are not registered with us, so we wouldn't know who they are. So what we would do is that we'll go out to various communities where we work through various organizations, we work through the training providers or whomever we contract as a SETA to go out there and talk to our stakeholders. But we also put out adverts to the kinds of programs that are available. And I also want to encourage the small businesses to get in touch with our provincial offices, and they will be able to tell them to say, look, these are the programs, the current projects that we have, or these are the projects that are upcoming, so that they know when and how to apply for those projects. So there are various ways. You can be registered, and we will have you on our database. But if you are not, then we've got the various projects that we then advertise, and companies can apply for that.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
George, thank you for that. Just something important to all our attendees out there. The questions are coming in fast. If I can't get to answer all your questions, George, how can people be in touch with you or someone from your team where these questions can be put forward to you for good answers?
Okay, Mike, what I can do is I'll provide my email address. They can send me the questions, and definitely we will be able to respond to those emails. And what I would also want to ask is that when you send me your questions, please also indicate to me which province you are from, and then so that I can also try and link you up with the team in that particular province where you are operating, so that I can also give you the details and you can get in touch with our provincial teams as well.
Right. George, thank you for that. And my final key question, and of course, I'll still encourage our attendees, if you've got any questions after my next question for George, please pop it into the chat. And I can also ask if you can keep your questions extremely short. My reason is that the chat moves extremely fast and it's very difficult. So after my next question to George, you can prepare your questions and I'll answer a few. But again, George said, of course, kindly that if you have any questions for him, you can email him, which we will put into the chat box shortly. George, how does the W&RSETA assist small businesses to participate on its programs?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I think once again, as I said earlier, we do these basically. Firstly, we do these various outreach programs that we do in order for us to be able to identify the skills development requirements in the different areas, like I spoke about earlier. So after we have done that, as I indicated, we'll then advertise. Mike will advertise to say these are the programs that are available. We will then appoint training providers from our side as the SETA. The reason why we do that is that we want to be able to appoint providers, number one, whom we know that are accredited, and they can be able to go and deliver quality programs to the stakeholders that are out there. So we then appoint these training providers. The training providers will then go out and recruit the businesses for us. And obviously there are checks that we do to make sure that the businesses that are being recruited are in our sector, etc., etc. Then the training providers will then, together with us, of course, we will then arrange to have sessions where we would do orientation sessions to explain particularly to the small businesses, to say these are the requirements for you to participate. This is the time that is going to be needed from you. Now you can understand, obviously, as a small business, you need to manage your time. There are some people who run their businesses just as an individual, and they cannot spend a lot of time away. So obviously there has to be a negotiation for us to understand when are they available, how can we deliver these particular programs, and so on and so on. So that's really how we then assist with the delivery of those programs. We have had cases, Mike, where you will actually go to a market in a particular rural area and you do the training there, because people have got no time to be moving away, you know. But it depends on where you are and what needs to happen at a particular point. If they are able to leave someone to run their business, they can come to the classroom, attend classes. In recent times, actually, we have also found that a lot of our training providers are developing online systems. I think COVID has actually pushed us to think differently. So you'll find that a lot of our providers are developing online training systems so that it actually becomes easier to even run classes with people from all over the country, because then you can just ask them to log in at a particular time and you run your classes, they do their assignments, they do that. So that's basically what we try and do from our side to really facilitate and ensure that the companies are coming on board. Remember also, Mike, that as a SETA, our role is not to do the training ourselves. Our role is to ensure we facilitate that the training happens. So as a SETA, we don't do training. Ours is to ensure that it happens within the sector. So that's why I was talking about the appointment of providers, our partnerships with various industry associations, where, you know, we have got the Fuel Retailers Associations, as I said earlier, you have got NAFCOC, you have got various industry communities that we deal with. And through that, we can then have access to the small businesses, where we are then able to do the training and provide the various programs that we do. Look, what we really want to encourage, Mike, is that we want to encourage our stakeholders to engage in training that is going to give them credits. So yes, we know sometimes that people just want to do short programs because they want to address a specific thing, but we want to really encourage that companies must do programs that are going to carry value. Because remember, as I said earlier, if you do a skills program, you can build that towards a full qualification. So it's like you going to a particular education institution and you say, you know what, for now I can only do the first year, but if you come back even 2 years later, your credits for what you did are still recognized. So you can then continue from there. So that is what we want to encourage, so that at least at the end, people have got certificates that are accredited and that are recognized within the sector and within the country. So those are the kinds of programs that we really want to encourage, you know, the small businesses to get involved in. Part of also what we do, Mike, is that We do cooperative development as well, where we want to encourage also our small businesses to be part, to work together. I think in the country you have heard people complaining that you have got you have got foreign people who are coming in and taking our businesses and so on. But in most cases, what you might find is that you go to a shop that is foreign owned, as an example, they are able to sell a loaf of bread cheaper than what somebody else can do. Why is that? And what you find in most cases, because they work as a group. They work as a group so that if they go to a particular manufacturer, so let's say they go to Albany Bread, they can go to Albany Bread and say, we are going to be buying 10,000 loaves of bread from you every day. So we are therefore negotiating a price. But if you and I might go as individuals, obviously we are not going to have the leverage of going there and saying, I can only buy 20 loaves of bread a day, therefore I want to negotiate a price. Nobody's going to listen to that. So we also want to encourage our small businesses to work together. So form cooperatives where you are then able to say, we operate in a particular area, which means we can go to a particular manufacturer or retailer and negotiate a price for a particular product, where you can then go and buy in bulk, and obviously you would share as the various small businesses, and you can then manage to compete within the sector. So these are the kinds of programs that we really want to encourage our small businesses to be part of, so that at the end it can benefit them. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much, George. And a big reminder to all our attendees. First of all, thank you for all these amazing questions and important questions coming through, and also to thank the W&RSETA team for answering all these questions. So I thank you for that. And George Mushaike, is the W&RSETA Senior Regional Manager. Your insights are extremely important, but I know that to all our attendees out there, there's a lot more questions coming through. There's a lot more to talk about around skills development, and please be in touch with the team at W&RSETA. They're more than willing to help so that you can maximize on what you want to get out of it. So, George, I'm not sure if you've got any closing words from your side.
No, Mike, except just to say thank you very much for having me here today. And I think it's for me it's really exciting to see the number of people that have come through, and I'm also happy to see that my colleagues are addressing some of the questions that have been raised on the chat box, and we really appreciate the participation, and we can only hope that we will have further engagements where our stakeholders are able to get in touch with us, and we really will be able to then address whatever queries or questions that they might have. So that we can be, we will try and be really of assistance to all of them. And once again, thank you very much,
George. Thank you, and also a quick reminder to all our attendees. Yes, there will be replays on the go all the time. There is a recording, so if you've missed some insights and you'd like to, of course, see this again, because it's a kind of a webinar that you can see again a few times to get maximum out of this discussion this morning. Of the SME sector, with the ultimate aim of alleviating unemployment and driving job creation. So to all our attendees, stay close to us. We've got some exciting webinars coming up. We've got some exciting virtual breakfast network functions coming up. We've got the business show, Sales in Dava, our weekly publication. And of course, importantly to the NSBC is that we are always looking out for what you want us to do for you, no matter what it may be. And that's, of course, another big reason why we exist. So to our attendees out there, to W&RSETA, thank you very much for this morning. I found it, as always, interesting and insightful, and it's a big area that we don't often get to fully understand, but because of George this morning, we are able to do that. Thank you very much, George, and thank you to all our attendees. All the very best for the rest of the year, and of course we'll see you very shortly again. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Take care.